despite trying to hear what the people of Rivers have to say concerning the solar administrator. Very important conversation. And we hope to connect again with Biola Festus to find out what Nigerians are saying, especially Rivers State. But let's go straight to the papers. And once we establish connection once again, we would reconnect and have that wonderful conversation. Uade joins us as we take a look at some of the papers. Let's take a look at the first one this morning. The Nigerian Tribune will be the first newspaper we would be looking at. IBAS on the fire over appointment of LG administrators in Rivers. You see there, it's the biggest story so far on the front page of Nigerian Tribune. Labour Party, one party, three chairmen. Let's start off with one so we can make use of our time properly. Let's start with IBAS. What's your take on that, Uade?
I don't see anything different from what is done as a sole administrator that anyone who has been appointed wouldn't do. Elected officials are expected to conduct elections to get local government chairmen, which is the way to go. However, if you have been appointed sole administrator and you are going to have to run the state using executive orders, then you have to work with the people who are you can use those orders to push in the direction of what you expect the things to be. When you consider the fact also that with the Supreme Court judgment that on local government autonomy, then there is a need for you to have people who would work with the sole administrator in line with ensuring that the plans for Rivers State, through the budget system, through the infrastructure and economic development program is being done. Will he have the full cooperation of elected local government chairman? He should, because he's the one who is the chief executive of the state. But I guess what he has just done is to say, okay, you know what, let me bring in people who would oversee the state so that we're not going back and forth in terms of whether when I sign an order, it's going to be adhered to or not, and I think that's what he's done.
So
I know it's been challenged.
Convenience or necessity.
Necessity, doctrine of necessity. So I guess that's what he's done, and he's been challenged in courts. We know that they haven't given a final decision, but I guess he would. I think he will get away with it.
All right, I mean, we will get to find out. We know that there's a case in that regard. The hearing will be on the 14th of April as well. We'll see how things turn out. On the Punch newspaper, the front page of the Punch, fuel prices may fall as FEC renews Naira for crude deal. Dangote and NPCL expected to review prices this week, according to marketers. Labour Party split into three factions as Apapa declares self-chair. Brain drain, Nigeria loses 14,815 nurses, midwives to UK. I'm saddened by happenings in America, Shoyinka says. No increase in my fiscal assets after presidency, Buhari says. Tinubu hails Jimovia after prestigious London honor, and Rivers administrator under fire over local government electoral chiefs removal. Let's talk about the fuel prices. They say it may fall. There's a renewal of the Naira for crude deal, which has been a major cause of concern in the past few weeks. So is this finally laying to rest the drama within the NNPC? Do you think that this is also has been birthed as a result of the new firings and firing and hiring, the new squad, the new sheriffs in town?
I don't think it's about the new sheriffs in town. It's about you sitting down and agreeing on the modalities of an agreement. Two business entities have to agree. Well, one government entity who wants to ensure that business is run as transparently as possible, and another entity who wants to ensure that the terms and conditions that have been given to them. Like I said, I think it was on this show too, that I said, I think one of the sticky parts was, what was the exchange rate? And I guess they've come to terms with that. I think, in my opinion, what they should do going forward, I think it's another 6 months contract, is by the 4th month, you should start looking at what has happened in
reviewing it.
Well, aside from reviewing it, I'm looking at what has happened with respect to the exchange rate, and then you start permutating or formulating the theories of how much the exchange rate should be and where it should be at that point in time, so that those negotiations kick off, and then you have a midpoint. If the Naira appreciates, for instance, the Naira has depreciated over the last 2-3 weeks. So if the Naira appreciates and it gets to 1,200, who gains? Is it Dangote or is it the federal government?
very
depending
delicate
on what-
balancing act,
Exactly.
yeah.
So those are things that you have to consider. But yeah, with the new sheriffs in town, I guess this would have been signed either which way. You just needed to agree on those terms and modalities.
And the
it just
good
makes
news
it,
here-
It just makes it good that there's a new sheriff in town and signatures are.
The good news here is, but I don't know why they're using the term may. May is conditional. It should fall. I mean, the price of crude oil.
Well, it should if the exchange rate does not continue to go up
I
the way it
understand.
is. It will drop. I do think it will drop a bit. It might go back to the 860,
Okay.
860 range, maybe. I haven't seen the agreement, so I don't know what the exchange rate details are. But it should, because crude oil prices have been between 70, it's not even up to 70, like $72 over the last month or two. So that's favorable for those who want to bring in petroleum products. But for Nigeria, with a budget of $75 per barrel for planning the Nigerian budget, we're already losing about an average of about 3 naira, 253 naira to a barrel. So there is definitely at this rate going to be a deficit, an additional deficit to the already established 13 trillion deficit, in my own opinion, because
Trump has decided to suspend the tariffs for 60 days, so hopefully things will go back to where they used to be. There's another issue on the front page of the Punch newspaper I would like us to touch on. This brain drain. We always talk about the doctors. The health minister, Dr. Partey, said we lost 16,000 doctors in the last few years, and now there's a report saying Nigeria loses 14,815 nurses and midwives to the UK. So at this rate, are we going to end up with native doctors? No, this is a serious issue here.
But we saw this coming, didn't we? I think last year we spoke a lot about it.
How do you keep them in the system?
How do you keep them in the system? Two ways. One, economics. If the economics are not working for the individual, then they will look. You see, people migrate not because they really want to, but many a times it's based first and foremost on economic ties. Then the next one is family.
Well, we can't all live.
I'm here. We are here. Not all of us are going. I don't plan to go anywhere.
Are you sure?
If I wanted to jump out, I'd jump out in the 90s.
Okay.
Or the 2000s. I had that chance.
But that's
Anyway,
your experience. But a number of them, you ask, unfortunately, when you ask a number of young Nigerian professionals, what is the Nigerian dream? They will tell you that the Nigerian dream is to go abroad.
That's them.
And do you blame them?
I don't blame anybody for doing anything based on economic issues or economic reasons or family reasons. Yeah, what you need to do, and I was having a discussion with someone earlier in the week, is we need to push for a system whereby not just public or everybody needs to understand that minimum wage has to improve and improve systematically. And how do you do that? By creating the right kind of production system in Nigeria. Are you with me? I grew up in this country. I haven't run anywhere, and I don't plan to run anywhere. I'm probably too old to run anywhere, though. But the fact remains that I believe in this country, and I believe that we can put the economics together for Nigerians to stay and make Nigeria better. That's the first part, the economics. The other part is the infrastructure. If you don't have the right infrastructure for developing nurses, for developing doctors, and at the end of the day, we still have some good infrastructure and you get good nurses and doctors out of Nigeria. That's why the world is asking for them. It's cheap for you to train in Nigeria and go and work anywhere else in the world as a doctor or as a nurse. And that's the reality, because you still have good people who train people.
I think I need to say this. I've been saving this for the longest time. I conceived this idea 3 weeks ago. Did I say 3 weeks? 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And it's got to do with our medical system. And, you know, as a public affairs analyst, it's one thing that I think Nigeria should look into. I'm going to use the word think many times because I think it is something that we should try to do. I mean, you've highlighted the fact that the brain drain will continue. I mean, if other places are looking profitable and good for the doctors and the nurses, why wouldn't they run there? I mean, being as a broadcaster here with News Central, he knows if he's offered something big, I know he won't go because
I won't
he's
because
that loyal.
I mean I have to.
So he's
who will look after you and all that?
That's why we
But the
trust
other thing, sorry, just to interject that, the other thing, like I said, is it's cheap to train in Nigeria.
it is
Extremely cheap to train
I
in
agree.
Nigeria. And that's the reality.
And that's why they wanted to increase the fees and get them to sign up. So before you leave, they try to make the
Don't get
process.
everybody to sign
They try to
up.
make the
Build
process
the
very tough.
infrastructure, are you with me? Create the economic environment where people can earn to do these things.
But these things don't happen overnight. And as a responsible government, these are critical times. I mean, you can't let your entire healthcare system be exposed and collapse. So what stopgap measures can the government do now?
More and more
what can
people
they
are
do?
going into universities. The number of people who are writing examinations for tertiary institutions and specialist institutions in Nigeria are increasing every year. Our population has grown to over 200 million. 60, 65, almost 70% of it, 45 to 50% of that are below 24. So what are you expecting? People are going to go to school. People are going to train. Either you go to a university or you go to a specialist organization, whether it's journalism or it's IT or it's engineering or it's the technical aspects. People need to develop themselves. So you must create a learning and development system that fits into where we want to be.
I have this idea. I mean, I know we have an advert pretty soon. We're looking forward to go for a break. But my thought would be that I think the banks, the owners of the banks, take for instance the banks that we know, I don't want to mention names, I think they should be given licenses to branch out into the medical field. Don't hate me while I say this. Let me explain. Now you have Mr. A who owns a bank. Uade is already that I'm not done. Just listen. And I'll tell you why. You have Mr. A who owns a bank. It doesn't mean that because he's not a medical practitioner, he should therefore not have licenses. If he does, he's not going to, run the medical facility. I'm coming. Bank A, I don't want to mention names, has facilities across the 36 states. You have different banks in different states. All they need to do is to replicate that same process and have medical facilities in different states. It doesn't matter how small they are.
I know I've been shaking my head.
Why? Why are you shaking your
Because
head?
I totally disagree with you.
Why?
What is the work of banking?
No.
Let's leave them. Let the bankers do their work. And their work.
I mean, are you talking in terms
Let
of
me finish.
I'm talking about CSR?
Let's
No,
leave
I'm not even
CSR.
talking about
Bankers'
CSR.
responsibility or financial institutions' responsibility is to put investment and create the opportunities for investment in this system.
Now you are talking.
Let me finish. It's not for you to build a medical facility or to branch into medicine. It's to create an enabling environment for those who have the requisite specialty, knowledge, to put. If you want to invest in it, it's a different thing.
I'm going to.
No, that's not what you ask.
No, I'm coming. I'm breaking it down.
The nail on the head.
Good. Now let me hit it
Create
on the head.
the enabling environment for people to take facilities, to build medical facilities, so that you
think-
can.
you
Oh
think
yes,
the
that's
banks
the
will want to do that?
reality. But what do you bring a lot of all the facilities
What if
in
we
the
flip it
world?
round? What if we flip it round? I mean, I like this conversation, not all the time.
Maybe we'll have a special time
What
for
if
this
we flip it
conversation.
round where the banks are told that they can now invest into the medical
Nobody
sector?
has stopped anybody from
No.
investing anywhere.
Let it be.
Nobody has stopped any individual.
What if it's
no.
done?
You see, because
enjoy
this
this
is my
conversation, but I feel
space,
we've gone out.
and I'm very vehement about it. Nobody has stopped anybody.
Very true.
Has stopped anybody from investing in
Is the environment viable enough?
Who creates an enabling environment?
I mean, from the government
You
to
see, when we talk about
investors.
government, are you with me? We continue to think that government is just the federal, state, local government. Community governance is part of it. Are you with me? And who are the community? Those who create an enabling environment for people to be able to invest money.
But Uade, you've heard my proposition.
You see, because when you are going and saying,
we're not
the
at the National
bank,
Assembly.
let me tell you, if I want to go, I should be able to walk into a bank, are you with me?
Right.
And tell you, oh, this is my idea. Are you willing to put some money down? Now, I understand the challenges with the banks. Why? Because most of the funding is short-term funding. Building a medical facility.
Right. Let's go on an average.
You see, it's like I said, let people do their jobs, and their jobs for the banking sector is to create an enabling environment for them. For people to
Okay, gentlemen, calm your horses. Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we have more to look at in the papers. Stay with us. Back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the newspapers, and we have Uade Ahimie still with us. And this time, we're moving to our final paper, the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page, there's several other stories. I won't pick the ones we've already addressed. We'll just choose the ones we haven't addressed yet. Federal government Chinese firm sealed deal on $328.82 billion power transmission lines. Lassa fever, Ondo, Bauchi, Edo remain epicenters, NCDC says. Anambra 2025, Tinubu wants trade me off for Soludo, Ukachuku says. Nigeria posts $6.83 billion balance of payment surplus in 2024, according to CBN. Trump announces 90-day pause on tariffs, except for China. Why? We'll find out, maybe because they are doing aura for aura. Leadership and opportunity to serve, not self-enrich, Buhari tells APC governors. Interesting. Now, Labour Party, one party, three chairmen. Oti faction passes vote of confidence in Nenadi. Parallel neck extends olive branch to Abure's NWC. Did not extend me, I'm here. Another faction leader, Apapa lays claim to leadership. NLC threatens to repossess Labour Party offices nationwide. Uade, what do you make of what's happening within the Labour Party?
The party in disarray.
They said they are not in disarray. We had representatives. I don't know. I'm just asking you to also respond to them. They say that it's normal internal issues that happen within every political party. That is what's happening in the Labour Party.
Which is true. It happens in so many political parties, and it's just in Nigeria. I remember the Conservative Party before the lady, before the man, now before the what's it called? All of them, there were too many people vying for leadership, and there was so much disarray, but you stood behind one person. So I guess what the Labour Party needs to do now is decide, and all factions to come together into a room where they can beat each other up and come out and say, okay, you know what, this is where we are. Supreme Court has relieved Abure. Apapa says Apapa has always claimed that he was the chairman, so he gives with that. They were the ones who took the case to the Supreme Court and went straight to the Supreme Court. So I guess he has that. What the OT faction had done is try to create a balance and say, okay, you know what, let's move forward while these cases were still in court. So I think what the best approach would be, okay, call Apapa and say, okay, this should be the plan for us to move forward. How do we move forward? And then you horse trade and come out with an agreement. But like I said, it happens in politics. May the best politicking faction win at the end of the day. I know that the OT team went to INEC. Is INEC going to recognize them without the fact that they've done a convention to appoint to elect a new chairman, which is what they should be pushing for, in my own opinion, as quickly as possible, so that Papa, who based on the Supreme Court judgment, should really be the chairman.
Papa has already started planning to appoint.
No. So what you should if the Supreme Court gave him judgment and he has relieved, he's here and Aburi that everybody was talking about. So the OT faction came out late last year to come out with some form of resolution and chose their own their own chairman. I think what you should push for the betterment of politics of the Labour Party is every convention, and let's test our strength in terms of that convention quickly between now and maybe before May 29, so that we then know, yes, there might be cases trailing them, but at least we would know that a convention has been done, INEC was at the convention, the proper process was done, and you have an elected chairman of the Labour Party going forward. That would be my own suggestion.
All right.